Big Blue Blitz with your host, Joe Masseri.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Blue Blitz. This is Perry Sook in for Joe on this New Year's special edition of the Big Blue Blitz. And guys, we have something to talk about that we have had very scarcely this year. A Giants win. Giants come out on top. Or did they? They did win. They did win the game. But in a race to the bottom, don't you want to lose to win? It's all very confusing. There's a lot of things going on. We're going to unpack it all. So let's just hop right into it. Joining me now, as he does every week, New York Post NFL writer Ryan Dunleavey. So Ryan, we talked about it last week. This was a game with a lot of stakes for all the wrong reasons, and the Giants go out and get a win. Are we happy? Are we sad? Are you celebrating a W, or are you sad that the number one draft pick, at least for now, resides in Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, the fans need a therapy session. And I guess that's what we're here for, Perry. I mean, look, the players are thrilled. Mike Kafka said it was a, plane ride where guys were bouncing all over on the way home and, talking about the plays they made and, the jubilant. We've all had fun with our buddies before, right? So, that's what it was like for the Giants on the way home from Vegas. They hadn't had a plane ride home after a win in 448 days. So 13 game road losing streak is over. So yeah, that you're happy for them. You're happy for Kafka, gets his first head coaching win. But no, I mean, obviously if you're the players, obviously if you're the fans, you're heartbroken because you wanted the number one pick. That's really what matters. Ideally, Jackson Dart would have played as well as he did yesterday and you would have lost. You would have lost 35-34. Best of both worlds. You feel good about your rookie quarterback being the guy, and you still lose and get the number one pick. They can still get it. As you mentioned, Perry, there's about a 10%, 20% chance, depending on what analytics site you buy into. It's as simple as this, Perry. If the Giants if the Giants lose to the Cowboys and the Raiders beat the Chris Ola-Kuhn-led Chiefs, not exactly the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs, who are as bad as anybody right now, and the Giants lose to the Cowboys, then the Giants reclaim the number one pick. Probably. There's still tiebreakers and win percentage and the strength of schedule. Probably they regain the pick.
Exactly. I think this was a perfect reminder of players don't tank, franchises want to, because on the field, excuse me, you're never going to have a player who is not out there trying to give their best. Now, I will say, when the score got, within 10 and the kick return went back and all of a sudden nobody got him as he was running towards the end zone on on Deonte Banks on the run back, I was like, well, maybe a little bit of player, but we won't, point fingers at the opposite sideline. But players don't tank. And it is good. As you said, 13-game road losing streak, 9-game just flat-out losing streak. Here's what Kafka had to say about why it was a good thing to actually get one in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, the things that we were playing for were for each other, to a man in that room and having each other's back and playing as hard as we can for each other. You get into a football locker room, it's a family. And, sometimes you have to go through the ups and downs, but you understand, you keep on plugging away, you keep on putting in the hard work, and then you'll get the result you want.
And Ryan, so this is good because here's the deal. I was talking with Jordan Renan last night. There were some, rumors flying around, especially after last week and the week Jackson Dart had, that maybe the Giants were entertaining, thoughts of evaluating Fernando Mendoza with the first overall pick. Well, now that hopefully should be off the table because A, you lost the pick, and B, your quarterback who weeks ago, we were jumping up for jubilation that the savior of the Giants had returned, and we finally had QB1, even if we didn't have anything else. Well, he looked like a return to form because he wasn't going against a very tough Vikings defense. So Jackson Dart, I was very encouraged by what I saw with him yesterday, and I think it's good for him, maybe, that he was the one that went out and ruined the fact that, hey, now you don't get that pick. Now you can't go out and get that. And, be it no less, two design QB runs that we had, or at least one design, but two QB runs, rushes into the end zone. What did you think about Jackson's performance yesterday?
But it was good. It looked much more like the Jackson Dart from earlier in the season. He did not slide or make any attempt to go down on the one for a touchdown, but that's when you should sacrifice yourself, when points are on the board. There were other runs, be it scrambles or designed runs, where he stepped out of bounds. That should be celebrated. That's progress. He played well. I thought he got the ball out where it needed to go. As a passer, he made good decisions. I thought he played really well. Now, he played probably the worst defense in the league. That can't be ignored. But then again, he played probably one of the most complex defenses in the league last week. So you could look at them both as outliers, throw them both out, and, say it's somewhere in the middle. But look, if the Giants had the number one pick, if they lost this game, if they get it back next week, I agree. They need to look at Fernando Mendoza. That doesn't mean they pick Fernando Mendoza, but they have to evaluate all options. They have to, one, send signals that they're looking at him so that they have more leverage in a trade offer from a team that wants to trade up to get him. They have to consider the fact they might have a new GM and a new head coach who love Fernando Mendoza. So it'd be silly to rule out the fact that he's on the table. But no, Jackson Dart played really well. The idea, I'm kind of with you. Like, it's good for him to experience winning, but I don't blame any Giants fan who's tired of hearing that, because it was never good for Daniel Jones. Won the game in week 17 against the Commanders in 2019. That didn't do anything for him. Drew Lock won the game last year in 2024 in week 17. That didn't do anything for him. So it's not like there's not a lot of evidence to suggest that one win in late season is going to carry over and be some kind of breakthrough for Jackson Dart. I think, it's good for them that they won, but does it hurt the franchise and the possible trade return for the Giants? Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously. And we had a photog out in Hoboken last night going to fans, and they were all on the same page. There wasn't a single happy fan, Ryan. Nobody was like, let's go Giants. I think our producer Saul here was the only happy Giants fan, happy that his team won, because he's at heart, he just wants to see his team in the win column. Another thing, though, that was a positive yesterday, Abdul Carter. Last year's, big draft pick, again, taking a step forward. We talked about this kind of ad nauseum last week, that, maybe it's too late in the season this year to make that step to be worth what they paid. But however, I was still encouraged by his continued growth. Is this trending in a direction? I mean, every week I just feel a little better and better about this pick.
Yeah, no, I think that's certainly, I think, is something that's sustainable and can carry over to next year. It's clicked for him for whatever reason. On the field, off the field, he sees the off-field work translating to the on the field, so that then leads him to pour more off-field work in. It's like a cycle. He's getting rewarded. I think Jordan Renan from ESPN, who you mentioned a second ago, had the stat that he has the second most pressures among a rookie in the pressures in the next gen stats era. So yes, he only has, I don't know, whatever it is, 3.5 sacks or something like that, 4 sacks. But he has something like 52 pressures, which is more than Micah Parsons had as a rookie.
Sure.
And that's who he gets compared to all the time. So one of the troubling things about this game for me was a lot of the guys who made big plays that led to the victory are not going to be on the team next year. So Bobby Okereke's interception, Deonte Banks's kickoff return touchdown, Devin Singletary's touchdown run, which followed a 29-yard run to set up his touchdown run. Those guys aren't going to be here next year. So those aren't building blocks. They don't care that the team doesn't have the number one pick. They're going to be on other teams next year. But Abdul Carter is going to be on the team. He is a building block. So that, I think, is a real tangible sign of encouragement, other than, what Deonte Banks did means nothing for the Giants.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And the wish list is already so long. When we talked about it for our Christmas wish list, the Giants list is on and on. Let's not add quarterback to that. Let's keep that checked off the box. Let's not do that. Sure, look at Mendoza, but I don't think this is a very heavy. You're sad because of the capital you lost, but not of the position
Correct.
or the player that you would be going after. So I guess the question is, who is going to be coming back? It is being presumed. Again, Jordan Renan last night, it was presumed, and things are being evaluated as if Shane is coming back next year. But nothing is for certain yet, and no one has reported it as certain yet, or else it would be reported as certain. How weird footing does that put when you're trying to evaluate people, when you're trying to evaluate talent, when you're trying to get ready for an offseason?
It's kind of a weird thing. I wonder if the Giants feel like they already announced that he's coming back. I just wonder if when they fired Daboll and said he's leading the search, if that was them telling us, and anybody who chooses not to believe it is like, well, you guys are the ones choosing not to believe it. We already told you he's leading the search. I'm with everybody else. My reporting indicates the same stuff. I don't know for a fact that he's coming back, but I know that the coaching search is being run as if Joe Shane will be the GM next year. That is the feeling of people who are close to people who will be candidates. So that they'd be working with Joe Shane or for Joe Shane, however you want to put it. NFL Network obviously had the thing yesterday that said he's likely to be retained through the draft. That set people ablaze. I don't know what through the draft means. You're not going to fire him after the draft.
Right.
That would be through the season. Maybe that means no extension. Maybe he's shifted into some other role that isn't necessarily just GM. I don't know, but I do expect Joe Shane will be with the Giants in 2026 at this point.
Yeah, it just seems like that is a domino that's not going to fall. It seems like all the other pieces missing, quarterback and GM, at least for now, are settled, which would bring us to the coach. And one of those major dominoes off the board, apparently, as of this morning. And we will talk about that when we come back on the Big Blue Blitz.
Welcome back to Big Blue Blitz.
All right, Big Blue Blitz is here and rolling. Guys, Giants coming off a win. We think Joe Shane is here to stay. We know Jackson Dart is here to stay, and probably as the quarterback, as we wanted him to be so many weeks ago. But the question is, who is going to be the coach? Well, it had been floated out there that Marcus Freeman was in the possibility of it. He wasn't playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. He had nothing to do but be getting ready for a potential job interview with the Giants. But he did announce that he is, in fact, going back to Notre Dame. So I'm joined again by Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, Marcus Freeman off the board. So that is the flashiest name that I have seen out there, in my humble opinion, of possible coaching candidates. How big of a blow is this to the coaching search for the Giants?
I don't think it's a big blow because I don't think he was ever. I know betting sites did it. I know national insiders did it. I don't think it was ever really a serious thing between Giants and Marcus Freeman. Don't think they got to the interview stage. Was there interest by the Giants? Sure. I think if they hired a college coach, he would have been the guy. I think if he once they started their interviews, if he wanted one, he would have gotten one. I don't think that he had some huge lead on everybody else. I don't think it was, I think they were doing due diligence on him the way they were doing due diligence on a handful of other people. But I was never sold that Marcus Freeman was the overwhelming favorite or anything for this job. Like some people were. I just think there are connections between the Giants and Notre Dame that you can make that tie. There is a sense the Giants want a experienced program builder. He checks that box. Sure. He's been a head coach. So there are things about Marcus Freeman's resume that lead you to say he would have fit the profile for the Giants, but there are other guys that that check those boxes too. So I think he was in the mix. I would have never said he was the favorite to be the coach.
I think that's very fair. And it's a massive change, as we discussed, I think last week. Going from the college to the pros, it's a whole different thing, and especially with the uncertainty of what you have at GM and all of that going on, it would have been an interesting predicament to step into. So that being said, who is on your short list now? There's some assistants out there. I've heard Kubiak. Do we think Kafka did enough, with Jackson Dart, kind of stepping up a little bit in this game to maybe earn a spot?
No, Mike will get an interview. as he should. And I think there's a potential that if they hire a defensive coach, that there's a potential Mike would be asked to stay on as offensive coordinator. He will not be the Giants head coach. Who do I think would be the Giants head coach? I think Mike McCarthy will be on the top of the list. If you want offense and head coach, I think he'll be on the top of the list. I also think he'll be on the top of the Titans list. And as I tweeted earlier, Nashville is a nice place to retire. So if you're going to have your third head coaching job, that would probably be a good one to be your last one. If you want offense, you mentioned Kubiak. I think he could build a staff pretty easily. A lot of connections there from where he's been in his career. And his father was a Super Bowl winning coach. And then there's a lot of really sharp defensive minds this year.
Sure.
Jesse Minter from the Chargers. If you want to bring back some of that Wink Martindale style defense to the Giants, Minter is that kind of guy. I know Giants fans have been clamoring for that for a couple years. If you want head coach experience, you have Jeff Hafley, who was Boston College's head coach. He's a Jersey guy, grew up a Giants fan. He's the Packers defensive coordinator. He's done a good job there. If you want, NFL royalty, Chris Shula is Don Shula's grandson. He's from the Sean McVay tree, which is the tree everybody wants a branch of nowadays. Shula is kind of McVay's right-hand man with the Rams.
Casting a wide net here, Ryan.
Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo and Lou Anarumo are defensive coordinators with ties to the Giants. So wouldn't surprise me if all whatever I just named, 7 or 8 guys got an interview.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, is it at all, does that point to the fact that there's a lack of, identity or cohesion, or is it just leaving the options open?
I think, one, there's no Ben Johnson this year. There's no candidate everybody wants. And 2, I think there is no blueprint that has worked for the Giants. Like, they've tried the experienced Pat Shurmur. They've tried the up-and-comer Joe Judge. They've tried the hottest offensive assistant quarterback guru, Brian Daboll. Nothing's worked.
Sure.
So instead of going in with a preconceived idea, we need a Jackson Dart whisperer, they need to turn over every rock and look for the best coach. Forget fitting the profile. Who has the best plan for turning the Giants around? And that includes what's your plan for Jackson Dart? That includes how are you going to handle adversity? That includes, can you get something out of these 5 guys that have given us nothing? What's your plan for the offensive line? Who's your coordinators? Who can you get as a defensive backs coach to turn around this secondary? How are you going to handle the media? All of that stuff. They need to ask all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, several big questions to ask. And you mentioned there's a lot of guys who made an impact last year that will not be on this team next year. One guy who could be, Wan'Dale Robinson, ended up having a pretty good game after we talked about the possibility of maybe needing a wide receiver at need. What is your biggest priority and need of re-signing or finding or drafting once the coaching search is taken care
of? For me, it starts with right tackle. If Jermaine Illuminor is not, if Jermaine Illuminor is not back, then the Giants can't go through another decade of slog at offensive line. They finally have a good offensive line. I guess you could put Marcus Bowe in there. He's played well. If you believe in Marcus Bowe, then I guess I would shift to wide receiver. And that's not just Wan'Dale Robinson. I think they need to re-sign Wan'Dale Robinson and add another receiver. I would not go into next year if I was the Giants with a recovering Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Darius Slayton as my 1, 2, 3 again. I would need to bump Darius Slayton down to 4.
Wan'Dale didn't do enough for you, though, to kind of fill that void yesterday or show you any signs of improvement?
I think Wan'Dale's a very good player. I'm writing for the Post. In Tuesday's Post, you'll see a story on his free agent market. I think he's going to get about $16 million a year after talking to people around the NFL. That might be a little rich for the Giants' blood, but I would not just re-sign him and then call it quits. I would re-sign him and add somebody else. like, yeah, he's done a nice job, but I want somebody else too. I want a better 1-2-3 than Neighbors, Wandale, Slayton. I want Neighbors as my one, and I want 2-2s basically. If I'm gonna have a rookie quarterback on a cap friendly deal, that's where I want to spend my money on wide receivers to help him develop.
That's when we see offenses take the step, is when they don't have to pay the big money to the quarterback and they can kind of fish it around to everybody else. You got to take advantage of that contract. All right, so Ryan, we got one game left against the Cowboys. Fans probably want to lose. Team probably wants to win. Outside of that, what is, the best thing that could happen for the Giants and their draft quantity for them to not need a quarterback? Because in my head, there's a pretty big gap between Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore, but I could be proven wrong. I think. I mean, is there a world here that Oregon and the Ducks go on the college football playoff run of a lifetime, and all of a sudden we're praising the number 2 pick and getting 5 picks in return for it because the Jets need to trade up to get the number 2 pick?
Mm-hmm. 5 might be a little rich, but the premise of your question, I think, is right, Perry. I think that's, if you're asking me the best thing that could happen to the Giants between now and January 15th, is that Oregon wins 2 or 3 of these college football playoff games, goes on a run. Dante Moore looks great and surges up. He's already probably like a top 10 pick if he enters the draft, but and he might not. I mean, he's only a 1-year starter, and heck, Nike can give Oregon, Phil Knight can give Oregon all the NIL money to keep him in Oregon. He could probably make more going back to Oregon than he will in the NFL. But if he did, the best case scenario for the Giants is he goes on a run, Oregon goes on a run, he plays great, he dazzles scouts, he solidifies himself as the number 2 quarterback. We've seen quarterbacks go 1-2 a ton this century. It didn't happen last year, obviously. Cam Ward, and then Jackson Dart went 25. But if you have a class where you have 1-2, like 2 years ago, where it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, if you have that kind of class, you saw the Giants were willing to give up a ton to go up from 6 to 3 for Drake May. So you need a team like the Jets or the Browns or the Cardinals, who are sitting at 5 or 6, to be like, okay, well, the Raiders are taking Mendoza, but we love Moore almost as much. We'll give up a ton to go up from 5 to 2. That's the best case scenario for the Giants, and that involves Dante Moore and Oregon playing really well here in January.
Well, we will see a lot of possibilities in the new year. And so one last one for you. One game left. It's the Cowboys. This is a rivalry. This is a game that for some reason Dak Prescott says they want to go out and win, which that fan base doesn't want them to win. The Giants fan base don't want them to win. What are you even expecting to see as far as competitive football game the first week of January between the Giants and Cowboys?
I expect the Cowboys to beat the Giants. That's what happens every time the Cowboys play the Giants. Like, Dak Prescott hasn't lost to the Giants since 2016. I mean, think about how long ago that is. That's like 4 Giants coaches ago. That they haven't. Now, they've beaten Andy Dalton and they've beaten Cooper Rush and whoever, but they have not beaten Dak Prescott since 2016. It's the longest Cowboys quarterback winning streak against the Giants ever. He passed Roger Staubach. It's one of the longest for any quarterback against any team. So what do I expect? I expect Dak Prescott will pick apart a secondary that's missing probably Cordell Flott, probably Javon Holland. Tyler Nubin's on IR. So at least 3 starters. So I expect Dak Prescott, if he plays the whole game, which he might not because it doesn't mean anything, but it sounds like he wants to, I expect he'll throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Well, there you go. Nothing like putting up Hall of Fame stats in a Week 18 game that doesn't matter. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me. We only have to do this, hopefully, one more time, because then we actually get to start the beautiful offseason where all of these new things can happen and optimism can come and ring eternal. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on this New Year's special edition of the Big Blue Blitz.